All right, silver price forecast for next week. Now, I think before we start talking about that, we need to take stock of why silver is doing what it is doing and what it has been doing in recent days. Obviously, you see silver here on the screen. You got these candlesticks moving down in the past few days, and it makes you wonder, well, why is silver moving down? And I other people may be different, but you're on Investing with TJ. So my view comes from a global macro view. And what that means is what's happening in the macro landscape will impact different financial instruments and commodities, monetary metals, all differently, depending on what it is and how investors react to them. So in the past couple of years, certain things have been happening and impacting assets. Now, 2020, if I asked you, what was the major event that moved assets? And you would say, well, obviously it was the issue. I can't talk about it because YouTube might throttle this video, but you know what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, I have to speak in code. But a couple of months ago, everyone seemed pretty happy in mainstream land. And then something else happened by mid to the end of June. And then something else happened with, a bunch of different assets. Some of our assets came down like silver. Some of our assets came down like gold. If I asked you what it was, you would probably say, well, it's probably Delta. And if you take a look at where we are today in the United States, cases have been rising aggressively. Now, I was mapping this out about, a couple of weeks ago, I would say, at the beginning of this, before it even looked like this. And I said, we're starting to see the US 10-year Treasury yield come down, and we're starting to see the dollar come up, and we're starting to see some topsy-turviness with gold, and we're definitely starting to see some weakness in silver. But I did say that I wasn't expecting it to be a major issue, and the reason why is because of things like this. We scroll down here, we can take a look at hospitalizations. And you can say anything you want about, okay, tests. People may not be taking that many tests, or people might be taking more tests or whatever. But as far as hospitalizations, if you're dying and you are having an issue, you're going to the hospital, and you're going to try to figure out what's going on. Now, hospitalizations have been on a minor uptick, but they haven't been as aggressive as we've seen cases. Now, obviously, only a percentage of cases will result in hospitalizations, but that's a pretty small percentage given how aggressive those cases have gotten. Now, if we take a look at deaths, it's even less. So let's take a look at deaths in the United States relative to this. Deaths have actually kind of been on a curve to the downside a little bit, if you can see that there. So in my view, because of the vaxes getting out there and everything, obviously, any new strain or these new strains that we've been seeing impacting have not been doing the damage that was once done, last year. So in my view, what we've been seeing impacting silver, causing the dollar to rise in strength because of this, is while it's happening, it won't be a permanent thing. It's not a sea change in what we have been seeing in the cyclical story of silver. You can talk about other commodities. You can talk about copper, and now a foreign currency, gold. And we'll talk about gold in tomorrow's episode. But if you take a look at the candlesticks here, you may say, well, that's all well and good, as far as, maybe the medium term, but what about next week? Well, as far as next week is concerned, I'd be leaning more towards, again, weakness in silver. Now, I don't think it'll be as bad as we may be thinking. We're still in almost that oversold territory. Um, Still doesn't mean we don't have more room to go down, but I don't think it'll be so aggressive. Things are looking kind of not so sure. There doesn't look to be too much certainty as far as the MACD is concerned, even during that green area, that bullish rise in the histogram. Even you can see it in the RSI where we didn't even really get above fair value. We got as high as just below fair value in that center. So when you take a look at these charts and you take a look at where we are in the macro landscape, you got to wonder, well, is silver going to be moving up? I would say in the near term, probably not. Is silver going to move down aggressively? In the near term, I don't think it would move down aggressively. Is it going to remain where it is? Maybe oscillate up or down from where it is? I think that is more likely to be the case. I don't see silver just crashing down. I don't really see the dollar just rising in strength aggressively for the foreseeable future. Forever and ever again, amen. And I just don't see. I look, as far as next week is concerned, I just don't see it. So as far as cases are concerned, once we start to see those cases come down, and some are saying that we might start to see the peak in early August, and we might start to see it kind of dip down after that, which would be good. This is for cases for the Delta variant. Maybe that is when we'll start to see prices go back up. So just like how we had to track this last year with the virus, we might have to start tracking it again to see when we will get some renewed strength in silver. So some scientists I've been tracking have been saying that we may start to see cases peak in early August. So that might be the point where we'll start to see, this terrible price movement in silver. Well, terrible depending on how you're looking at it. I got some silver earlier this week and I thought it was great because I could get prices pretty cheap. But if you're expecting prices to move aggressively higher, I would say maybe mute your responses for next week. As far as what we'll be expecting from reports, I actually wrote this down for you guys. We're going to get some data pretty much Monday through Friday, but I think the days to watch will be towards the latter half of the week. That's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and these are the ones to watch. Wednesday, obviously, we have the FOMC announcement, and we have the Powell press conference. That might actually spark some knock-on effects on silver and gold. Thursday, we have GDP for Q2. I think this generally is going to be beneficial for us as far as our outlook for in the macro view. And Friday, we're going to be getting employment costs, which I think will be beneficial for us as far as taking a look at how businesses are being impacted by potentially higher prices that they have to pay for labor. Personal income, has that gone up as well? Consumer spending, core inflation, and the final estimate of consumer sentiment. So are consumers still feeling pretty bearish? What's going on here? Is inflation a concern for them? I want to know all of that. But I think Friday is going to be the main day that I'm going to be taking a look because we're going to get core inflation, we're going to get consumer sentiment, we're going to get all those employment. We're going to get employment costs, personal spending, and consumer spending. So there's a lot to take a look at for next week. But for the most part, I think it's going to be kind of muted and a little bit weak for silver. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching. It's been Investing with TJ.